All right. Good morning, Housing Authority Board of Directors. Over to you, Director Harrington.
Good morning, Housing Authority Board of Directors. Welcome to the month of September. Clerk Moss, could you do us the honors, please?
Certainly, Director Harrington. The Washington County Board of Commissioners is now joining as the Housing Authority of Washington County for this regular session, September 3rd, 2024. Director Savara? Here. Director Rogers?
Here.
Director Treese?
Here.
Director Willie?
Here.
Director Fye?
Present.
Director Harrington?
Here. Thank you. The next item on the Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting is public comment. This is an opportunity for members of our community to come and address the Housing Authority Board of Directors for up to 2 minutes an individual. Do we have anyone who wishes to do so?
Thank you, Director Harrington. I did not see anyone sign up in the back of the room. Would any member in the auditorium wish to provide public comment to the Housing Authority on any housing-related topic for up to 2 minutes? Just raise your hand, start coming forward. Not seeing any in the room. Would any members online via Zoom wish to provide public comment to the Housing Authority? Give you just a moment to utilize raise hand function. Not seeing any hands, Director Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. Next, we'll move on to today's consent agenda, which consists of 2 items. What are the wishes of the Board of Directors regarding today's consent agenda?
Motion to approve them.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adopt today's consent agenda. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 6-0 for approving the minutes for the August 6th meeting, as well as approving the fiscal year 24 public housing debt write-off of prior tenant accounts. Next, we'll move on to our action agenda. We have 2 different items today, and the first of which is to approve a resolution and order in the matter of authorizing the executive director, who I assume will be coming up, on actions related to the Wood Spring Apartments, which, thanks to state funding, the Housing Authority of Washington County was able to acquire, given a willing seller, finally. And so we knew then that the funding solution would need some re-syndication, and that is what our team is here to present on today. Take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, directors. For the record, my name is Molly Rogers. I'm the Executive Director of the Housing Authority of Washington County. I use she, her pronouns. We are pleased to bring back to the board the Wood Spring resyndication, which the Housing Authority had previously informed to the board during our June 2023 meeting, just prior to the closing of when we acquired Wood Spring, that we would need to come back and restructure this project within 3 to 5 years. For today, we will go through sort of brief project overview, the resyndication overview, proposed timelines, next steps, and the requested action from the board. Okay, that was that slide. And here we go. Okay, as a recap, the Hawk purchased the property in July 2023. It's a 172-unit building. It used low-income housing tax credits initially back in 1991, so it achieved its end of affordability at 30 years in around 2020. So we worked very closely with OHCS to help towards this acquisition. They awarded us $25 million, and we also issued a revenue bond of $20.25 million by Banner Bank. And we also contributed $4 million from our local fund to help bridge this acquisition. We also contributed 32 federal project-based Section 8s to help stabilize and reduce rent burden of some of the existing residents at Wood Spring. and we knew it was going to eventually need rehabilitation. So we wanted to make sure we had the time to give ourselves. It can take 3 to 5 years to go in and figure out new financing, take on new debt, think about what the scope of work would be for a renovation, and we are asking your support today. And from there, I'm going to turn it over to Jill.
Thank you so much. For the record, I'm Jill Chen, Assistant Director of the Housing Authority of Washington County, and I use she, her pronouns. Just a quick project overview. The project is over a space of 8 acres in Tigard. All units are 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and there are 11 apartment buildings, all low-rise, and 1 community building. OHCS's current regulatory agreement restricts all incomes at 80% area median income and below. And this was used mainly to accommodate a few households whose income exceeded the 60% AMI. Currently, all others are at 60% AMI rent and below. Due to the age, we expect significant capital needs as part of the resyndication and rehabilitation. Oh, thank you. The goals for the resyndication are essentially fourfold. The first is to address the deferred maintenance and capital needs of the project. This is related to a lot of things such as roof, sidings, major portions. Preserve the long-term affordability with new restrictive covenants. Third is to provide financial structure for long-term healthy operations. Currently, it is really under a bridge-type financing. And the last is to minimize the impact on this existing residents. The resyndication, based on our initial due diligence, is that it's going to be costing approximately $120,000 per unit. This is going to be focusing on the long-term sustainability and affordability, building envelope, mentioned before, sidings, roof, windows, major building systems, mechanicals, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC, especially in our current time of climate change, accessibility upgrades, and sustainability and efficiency with a potential scope to be further defined as due diligence becomes more complete. Next slide. The total resyndication is a new tax credit partnership where the Housing Authority is the general partner, and this is to raise additional 4% low-income housing tax credits from the sale and new construction. That is targeted to be about $26 million. Replace the Banner acquisition loan with a long-term tax-exempt loan. That is estimated at $21.5 million. And assume all the OHCS and existing Housing Authority loans for the project. In addition, the Housing Authority will be using cash flow from operations and seeking additional new sources for the balance of the funding. Estimated total project cost is for the tax credit partnership, including the acquisition of the existing property, is $90.6 million.
Could you pause for 1 second?
Yeah, I don't understand what's going on. I think the slide cut off much of the uses. The uses should stay. Acquisition is $51 million. Construction is $23 million. Soft cost financing is $11.2 million. Development fee is $3.5 million. And reserves is $1.9 million. That got cut off on the slides, I think.
So for the sake of everyone in the audience, whether you're here in person or on Zoom, the packet that is available online on the county website does not have this visual problem. So all of the information is available to all members of not only our public, but also for the Housing Authority Board of Directors who are here today to provide the appropriate adoption and direction. And we have all had access to this information via the packet. Thank you.
We wanted to just highlight a bit about the resident impact and relocation. The renovation will require temporary relocation of residents to ensure their safety during the process. To minimize the impact to those residents, the partnership will contract with a relocation consultant to oversee that relocation process, ensure the tenant rights are protected, and the Housing Authority remains in compliance with federal, state, and local requirements, and hold residents' meetings to describe the process, and hold one-on-one resident meetings to assess individual needs as well. We will be taking our learnings from earlier resyndications from our 10 projects under the Affordable Housing Partnership Phase 1 and Phase 2 resyndication that we're in the process of completing. All costs related to moving, packing, lodging, per diem, etc., will be covered by the partnership. So the residents ideally will be not
I'm
out.
going to do something a little unusual, and that is ask a question here versus hold it to the end, because my question relates to the current residents and not to the action that we're taking. Through the course of this presentation, you've been very clear with us the number of units, 172, and the Housing Authority Board of Directors and the Washington County Board of Commissioners went through quite an ordeal in 2022 and the first half of 2023 with regard to this property, which had previously been under private ownership with affordable housing covenant on it for 30 years of expiration. But as we all learned, you have to have a willing seller in order for that housing to convert over and stay in affordable housing. But nonetheless, that was a long ordeal. And so I have great respect for the organizing of tenants. We were very fortunate that the state of Oregon came through with the funding to enable the purchase of Woodspring. But now I have a question about the resident impact and the way you're practicing the art of the possible. Are all 172 units currently leased up and occupied? Is one question. And then the other is different apartment complexes that have gone through preservation and rehab have used different techniques. One is temporarily relocate residents to a different property for a short-term basis. Other is to rehab, for example, one building and move residents around so they're still staying in the whole complex, but their residents may move from building A to building D or what have you. So at this juncture, and you may not know, but I wanted to ask, if you don't know how it will go about, I know you've got a timeline later on. I'm wondering how we and the community and the residents can be informed about what techniques might be applied. So I just wanted to outline those questions, and maybe if you can address them through the timeline or now, whichever you prefer.
I'll address it now, but it's also in the timeline, so I'll just press it on. The tenant relocation is a planning process. We like to make sure that we hire the relocation consultant to work with us, and he or she will be able to work with the tenants to see what's most appropriate for them. We have seen relocation in both methodologies that you mentioned, Chair Harrington, so it's an opportunity for us to explore what works best for this particular site.
Thank you very much. So it looks like the work won't begin until the early part of 2026. So it sounds to me like you'll be hiring the relocation specialist, and all the residents will be learning more through the remainder of 2024 and into 2025. So plenty of time to prepare and go from there. Thank you very much.
And plenty of time for us to come back and update you on all the progress and updates, especially after due diligence.
Yeah. And just for the timeline for not only you all, but for the audience, the goal for us is immediately upon approval from the board, we want to move forward in forming the partnership, applying for private activity bonds, the low-income housing tax credits, and advance with design and construction. So in 2025, as mentioned, we are going to be bringing in the relocation consultant and doing that planning, finalizing the scope and permitting, bringing in investor lenders, and securing the private activity bonds. The anticipation is by the fourth quarter of 2025 for us to meet financial close and start construction. Construction is estimated to take about 18 months, maybe a little bit more, depending on a number of items, including Oregon Housing and Community Services approval for the private activity bonds and any potential unforeseen circumstances related to construction, supply chains, and inflation. Next slide. So finally, we are asking for the board to approve the executive director to form the entities, support the application for the funding, execute all required documentation for the Wood Spring apartment resyndication. Also, as part of our work, is to authorize the lending of up to $1.75 million to the yet-to-be-formed entity for the pre-development cost, which will be reimbursed to the authority at closing of the construction financing. Any questions?
Thank you. Directors, do you have any questions or comments at this juncture?
I have a question, Chair. For my own edification, the timeline slide, Jill and Molly, if I understand you correctly, this whole construction is going to take 18 months, and it's expected to complete, meaning the construction ends and people will move back in by September 2027?
That is the plan, is by September 2027, this will be complete. So all the residents are moved back. Because it's a in-place rehab, the idea is not necessarily to move everyone out of all their units at one time, but potentially building by building.
Thank you. I'm glad you added that part because I was going to ask about phasing or if everyone is going to be out. So thank you for adding that part.
So I'll close with my comments on this same slide, slide 9. Since we're at the beginning here, this is really the timeline as of this date. So I think from a one Washington County approach, we need to operationalize getting that BKM used, its timeline as of this date. Additionally, on this slide, on 2627, for the purposes of our community, it really should be 2026 arrow 2027, because it is not fiscal year 26-27. It is not 2026 or 2027. It's from 2026 through a portion of 2027. So that would help with clarity as well. But given the presentation and our ability to ask questions and for you to clarify, we certainly understand, eyes wide open, what you're proposing today. And with that, directors, we have a proposed resolution in order to authorize the executive director to move forward with the application of funding and all the various documentation for resyndication of 16100 Southwest 113th Avenue in Tigard and authorize up to $1.75 million in pre-development expenditures. What are the wishes of the,
So moved, Madam Chair.
is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 6-0. Thank you very much. And next, we'll move on to item D2. In a slightly similar vein of working on affordable housing, you've brought us a proposal with regard to preserving affordable housing in our community. So if you could please give us a great presentation.
I think today, happens to be Preservation Day, it feels like, all things preservation, which is excellent. Just, it's great to be able to use Wood Spring as a springboard, if you will, of things that we can learn from, but also learn of how we can be partnering with different housing providers that may be interested in coming into this space. And we, of course, would like to encourage as much preservation of existing affordable housing as much as possible. I just wanted to emphasize that this transaction that we're about to talk about does represent a more proactive approach to preservation than we perhaps experienced, as Director Harrington mentioned, the turmoil of Wood Spring and how it was. It did take a willing seller to get there, which is what is exciting about Bethany 1 and 2. We do have a willing seller. But it doesn't necessarily represent the level of risk to Hawk as the other, as Wood Spring did. And to be clear, we are not requesting that Hawk step in like we did with Wood Spring, but rather we partner with an affordable housing developer and owner called Bridge. They'll be the ones who would be, who are willing to buy Bethany 1 and 2. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Assistant Director Chen for the rest of the slides.
Thank you, Molly. Okay, for our agenda today, we are going to have a quick project overview, as well as its current restrictions and goals, some next steps, and requested action of the board. Okay. As a quick overview of Bethany Meadows, this is a project. Bethany 1 and 2, our total is 340 units built in late 1990s using 4% low-income housing tax credits, which meant their affordability was restricted for 30 years. The project is located in the intersection of Bethany and Laidlaw in a high-opportunity area where regulated affordable housing is scarce. The project consists of 1 and 2 bedroom units with many in-unit amenities, such as washer dryers, dishwashers, balconies, open space to greenery. There's also a lot of amenities on the site, including parking, play areas. It's right next to the trails, community space. There's a pool and a gym. However, the rent restrictions on all these units will start expiring at the end of 2026 and 2027. Let's see. Okay, thank you. The current owner has indicated to the Housing Authority that they want to sell the property and redeploy these funds elsewhere before the expiration of the restrictive covenants. Currently, Bethany Meadows have restrictive covenants from both Oregon Housing Community Services as well as the Housing Authority. And under the OHCS, Phase 1 terminates on 12/31/2026, and that's the 208 units. Phase 2 terminates on 12/31/2027, and that's, I think, 134 units. The Housing Authority's restrictive covenants terminates in the event of a sale, and we have been working to see if a mission-aligned buyer can be brought in soonest, mainly to preserve the long-term affordability and the minimization of the impact on the existing residents. So as we work on this, we're pleased to say that recently a nonprofit low-income affordable housing provider, Bridge Housing Corporation, has agreed to purchase Bethany Meadows, and we're very supportive of this sale. Bridge is a well-established owner-operator with over 130 properties and over 13,500 units of affordable housing. Bridge came to the metro region about a decade ago. They are the developer owner of Cedar Rising, an 82-unit affordable housing in Aloha, as well as Atora, a 75-unit affordable housing project in Beaverton. Both of these had used the Washington County allocation of metro housing bonds. Bridge also operates 3 other existing affordable housing projects with 220 units, so this acquisition will approximately double its presence in Washington County. As part of our partnership with Bridge, they have asked us to join them to support their application to OHCS for additional funding in the 2020. We've already done it in the 2024 round, which they did not receive any funding. We have asked them to go in again in the 2025 round. We're also asking to support the low-income residents with a housing resource toolkit that the Housing Authority is developing, and this is to prevent displacement and to provide residents with information. Last, we're offering to provide tax credit exemptions as needed in a partnership with Housing Authority as a special limited partner to reduce potential rent increases and to ensure that the rent is kept at no higher than 80% AMI levels. Finally, we are asked to provide a waiver of our right of first refusal and all necessary consents and take all actions necessary to advance the preservation of this affordable housing. So in terms of next steps, we're asking you as the board to authorize the executive director to ratify the authority's right of first refusal, provide consents and approvals as needed, and support our application for preservation funding to Oregon Housing and any other agency, participate as a special limited partner if requested, and execute and deliver all documentation and necessary actions to preserve affordable housing with rents at or below 80% AMI.
Directors, do you have any questions or comments? Seeing none is, go ahead, Director Shavaro.
Just wanted to highlight, one piece earlier in the consent agenda. We were talking about the debt write-off, and I was noticing that the debt write-off has steadily been increasing each year. It looks like this year was $49,000, and I think wanting to highlight how struggling communities, even in regulated affordable housing, are really not recovering in the same way as many others from the COVID pandemic. I want to make sure that as you're thinking about that resource toolkit for residents that are in these units, we're also thinking about where we can leverage some of the other fund sources, supportive housing services potentially, for even eviction prevention in affordable housing. I'll just note this is a statewide trend we're seeing. PSU has been doing some research on this, that even in our affordable housing, sometimes we're not reaching the most in need residents. And so just wanted to make sure that that's something on your radar as you're approaching that resource toolkit, that we also need to make sure that there's pathways for residents to find eviction prevention dollars, through some prioritization. So would love for you all to consider something like that as you're approaching this, because we know there's going to be a risk here for some turmoil. But really support this effort and really support your guys' ingenuity in trying to solve problems and support really building on what we need more of, more affordable housing and not losing ground on the affordable housing we have. So appreciate it.
Thank you for raising that issue, Director Savara. I would say we have found that actually residents of affordable housing are even more likely to have some rent arrears and some potential issues around payment of debt coming out of we're still coming out of COVID relief kind of resources, we have been able to dedicate some of our supportive housing services measure towards eviction prevention, although it's hard to say at what level we'll be able to continue with those resources. But yes, we're threading the needle as much as we can so people are informed and notified of those various resources. We have seen an uptick, but we're hoping we can start right-sizing that next year.
Well, and that's also one of the reasons why you're asking for us to support the possibility of participating as a special limited partner, as you noted, that all these units will be kept at 80% or lower, and the tool of that limited partnership, as you mentioned, would help forestall future significant rent increases that will only put additional burden and pressure on residents. So thank you very much for practicing the art of the possible and utilizing all of the tools. That limited partnership does not put any additional financial burden on us. Rather, it provides the permission to seek other tools and financing capabilities that are available. So as you have well taught and coached all of us that there are all kinds of different tools and it's a complex puzzle of financing to make things like this happen. So thank you for leaning into this opportunity, and we're really fortunate to have Bridge Housing interested in serving as a new owner, and for the existing owner to be interested in retaining the public housing setup. So at this juncture, directors, I'm asking for a motion to move the resolution and order on this matter.
Motion to approve the resolution to move forward.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 6-0. So next we move on to our second public communication opportunity for today's Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting. Clerk Moss, do we have anyone who wishes to do so?
Thank you, Director Harrington. Mr. Dale Feek.
Madam Chair Harrington, Commissioners, and Michael Savara, Housing Authority Director. I'm Dale Feek, resident of Forest Grove since 1966, started as a fifth grade teacher and retired as a teacher in 2000. I'm really committed to the city of Forest Grove. Raised 2 kids. My wife met at Neil Armstrong Junior High, got married, and life has been good most of the time. Wait, all the time, never mind, everybody. Based upon what I've made public comment to before about data centers, in particular about Crane Data Center in Forest Grove, I want to talk to you about housing. Because Brian Schimmel, who was also a member of the Forest Grove City Sustainability Commission, and you're nodding your head, and you know Brian Schimmel, because Brian Schimmel's done great work with you in the Housing Authority. And so, now I forgot my train of thought, but anyway, he was also a member of the Forest Grove City Sustainability Commission, was chair, and then I was chair after he was. And during that time, Forest Grove City Sustainability just wasn't about emissions and all that stuff. It's about equity, particularly social equity. And that's where Brian really put his effort in trying to get housing for the low income and people in need of services. That was his passion and still is, because he works for Virginia Garcia. I think that's where he works. He works for one of the agencies that's really into trying to create housing and services for low-income people in need of help. Broadly, not just a house or a temporary, but try to get them into housing. So he's passionate and still is passionate about doing that. First time I've had 5 minutes in a long time. I'd met with him because he's running for city council, and I'm supporting his candidacy. And he's one of the reasons he's doing that because he wants to make sure he's in a higher position of influence to be able to make decisions for the people in need of housing. That's one of the reasons. And there's another reason we discussed that I'm not going to share here. But he also let me know of a motel that was converted in Forest Grove for a transition, and you're shaking your head, you know more than I know, and shaking your head. So he gave me the address, and I went and looked at it, and I stopped by and talked to the staff person that was there. And I was impressed. I was impressed just with the general looking of the building, the general appearance of the building and how well it's kept up, or whatever the word is. So then I talked to the staff person. I was impressed with that person's running the place. And she didn't know I was coming. And she gave me information. I took a few pictures and whatever. And then also, Brian let me know about the place they're building in Cornelius having to do with food and storage of food and giving food to the people that need food in Washington County, not just Forest Grove. So what I'm saying is, he also said he's really appreciated working with the county, with Mayor Wenzel and the people there, and getting things done and using the money that Metro and you provide to get these services. And so I'm supporting his candidacy, and I'm glad that he's working, and you are shaking your head so much about Brian and his efforts. So I support what was presented here, even though I was in and out, having to do other business. So I was in and out, didn't hear the whole presentation, but I certainly support the presentation that was made and what the county is doing supporting that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feek. We'll move on now. Do we have anyone on Zoom who wishes to address the Board of Directors?
Thank you, Director Harrington. Is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to provide public comment to the Housing Authority for up to 5 minutes on any county-related topic related to housing? Give you just a moment to utilize raise hand function. Not seeing any hands. Director Harrington.
Terrific. Directors, are there any announcements for today's meeting? Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn today's Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting?
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 6-0. The Housing Authority Board of Directors for September 3rd, 2024 is hereby adjourned. And I'd like to open the Washington County Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. Clerk Moss, could you please do us the honors?
Certainly, Chair Harrington. The Washington County Board of Commissioners, also meeting as the Board of Directors for Clean Water Services and all other county service districts, is meeting this regular session, September 3rd, 2024. Commissioner Treese?
Here.
Commissioner Rogers?
Here.
Commissioner Willie?
Here.
Vice Chair Fye?
Present.
Chair Harrington.
Here. Thank you, Clerk Moss. Next, we'll move on to our public comment period for the Board of Commissioners. Clerk Moss, is there anyone who wishes to address the board for up to 2 minutes an individual?
Yes, Chair Harrington. We have Mr. Dale Feek.
You can start, Mr. Feek, as we already have your written testimony. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. I'm Dale Feek, resident of Forest Grove since 1966, and the county since 1966. What Kevin just handed you is a summary, kind of what I emailed to you, but you'll need to read in detail what the email was if you're going to get background of what I just sent. We'll just ask Kevin to give to you, okay? Commissioner Rogers and I had a conversation with Nafisa Fye and with Chief of Staff Elizabeth Edwards. The thing I want to emphasize, it has to do with Clean Water Institute. Commissioner Rogers emailed me and said, as the Clean Water Institute, I did not say it shouldn't be a nonprofit. To the contrary, I believe Clean Water Institute is a very necessary organization due to Clean Water Service having been informed under ORS 451, which applies to a county service district. It is my opinion, this is Roy Rogers, which I have formed through a reading of the statute plus the work session we had in February of this year, that Clean Water Service has a very limited set of services it can perform. I think we all agree that the innovative and state-of-the-art services that Clean Water Service, I don't know if that means Clean Water Service, Clean Water Institute, performs are good for our ratepayers as well as the economy. The question is, are these services allowed under our organizational model? While other utilities are providing new and innovative services, they are organized as either a department of another government or as a standalone government. Our model fits neither of these two circumstances, hence places us in an awkward position. Both the prior CEO and current leadership CEO have recognized this issue and have attempted to have a diverse board of subject experts, business people, legal, accounting, whatever. So the board's composition, well, you can read it yourself. I'm out of time. So the point, though, is
Thank you, Mr.
it's important information.
I want to point out that the Clean Water Institute is organized as a separate entity and has a different board of directors. We are not involved with the Clean Water Institute. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Clerk Moss, is there anyone else?
Is there any other member in the auditorium who should provide public comment for up to 2 minutes on any county-related topic? Not see any hands. Anyone come forward? Any member on Zoom wish to provide public comment to the board at this time for 2 minutes? Give you just a moment to utilize raise hand function. Not seeing any hands. Chair Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. Next, we'll move on to today's consent agenda, which consists of 6 items, 1 set of minutes, 2 items from Clean Water Services, 1 item from the Cooperative Library Services, and 2 items from Health and Human Services. What are the wishes of the Commission?
So moved.
To accept.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next, we're going to move on to boards and commissions. And today, as previously discussed in work session, we have a proposal to reappoint Linda Felden and appoint Joseph Subject to the Urban Road Maintenance District Advisory Committee for a term ending September 30th, 2028. What are the wishes of the commission?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next, we'll move on to presentations. It's an exciting day for Clean Water Services. As recently at the National Association of Clean Water Agencies, Clean Water Services earned the Platinum Awards for 3 different Platinum Awards for multiple CWS CEO. Would you like to make all these announcements?
Thank you, Chair Harrington. I'm going to call up Elizabeth Edwards and the team, and Elizabeth's going to provide the background about the awards. We're very proud of the teams. It's an incredible amount of work that they do to ensure that our treatment facilities are in compliance, and attainment of a platinum status is a very big deal because you first have to meet 5 years of perfect compliance and then followed by perfect compliance thereafter.
So per usual, we have a long history of these awards. You have a lot to be proud of with Clean Water Services, so we'll have a brief presentation and then we'll have a picture-taking opportunity with our great team members.
Well, good morning again, Chair Harrington and members of the Clean Water Services Board of Directors. I will keep my comments very brief because our CEO made some great initial overarching comments, and I have CJ Baxter here with me, so you should hear it from the man himself. CJ Baxter is our Water Resources Recovery Services Manager, and we have a fantastic team with us. So really, I want to hand the baton to CJ and let him describe all the good work that the teams have been up to that have garnered national attention.
So it's a relay race, CJ, and you're going to get us across the finish
You'll
line.
get there, Chair Harrington. And again, thank you so much. It's my pleasure to again be able to address the board, Chairing Harrington, directors. Again, I'm CJ Baxter. I'm the Water Resource Manager for Clean Water Services. I oversee 4 of our treatment plants, and we have received, like the memo has stated, 3 platinums and 1 silver award. These awards are, again, for 5 years of perfect compliance. So what that means is that we have navigated over 10,000 instances of perfect compliance over this last year. 10,000 opportunities to fail that our teams have done so well in, yes, exactly, in performing. So Clean Water Services is very proud of our core business, which is to clean the used water that comes in through Washington County. And really, it's your support and our staff that work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in all sorts of inclement weather to help provide these services to Washington County. We also produce a fertilizer, we produce biosolids, reuse water. We do as many wonderful things to keep the county vitalized as we can. With that, I'd like to introduce our superintendents, Dustin Higman, Tom Stowe, and Noah Harvey, to come up with our awards and, with your permission, have a photo op for these wonderful days.
We would gladly do so, and we're going to reintroduce all of you when we're up here on camera as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
This is, and before we do so, I want to make sure that I give the board the opportunity for comments, because this is just amazing, stellar performance. Each of these 4 different facilities, which are complex in amongst themselves, with an unknown product coming in, 10,000 opportunities to achieve each year for each of these 4. Perfection at its best. So, directors, any comments? Director Rogers or Commissioner Rogers, go ahead.
I think she was.
Okay. I just want to say quickly, thank you for your outstanding work. I've had the opportunity to go to several conferences this past year and previously. See, Clean Water Services is recognized internationally, and you are a big part of that. So I just want to say thank you for making me feel like I work with one of the best organizations in the world. So, thumbs up.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll pass that on to our teams.
I certainly would agree with all those comments and can't say anything higher than what you just said, but can you clarify, because I think it's important for people to understand, how many agencies are in the United States? And we're one of the few who receive that, and I don't even know if you know off the top of your head, Diane, but there is a lot, and they don't receive this sort of acknowledgement, and it's particularly it's almost ho-hum, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but we have seen these rewards for many, many years, and that's excellence. That's a tone at the top, and that's excellence on your part. But do you have any idea what the population is?
No, sir, I do not know what the total overall NACWA
Thousands.
participants are.
There's
Very much.
thousands of wastewater treatment facilities across the country.
Thousands.
Yeah.
And again, it's every year is a new year. It starts, and all we can do is do our best. And we really appreciate all your support and the kind words.
Yeah, I want to just chime in and say congratulations on this again. The interesting thing, what the 3 of us, when we attended the International Water Association a few weeks ago in Toronto, the takeaway that I had of one of them was one of the speakers said, look, we only have a fixed amount of water, and we got to take care of that water, and there's a process to that. And this just says we are doing excellent work in maintaining and assuring that not only everybody who lives in the Clean Water District has great drinking water and great facilities, but is managed expertly. So thank you for carrying that mantle and certainly maintaining that for all these years that we get these platinum awards. So thank you for your good work on that.
And I'll clean it all that up to say congratulations and great work, a job well done. And I knew, Diane, you would have that question, the answer to that question, Commissioner Rogers. No, not that you would know, but I felt it was really a hard question. And I directly looked at the CEO, and I knew, and in my head, head was like, I bet Diane knows to this question, so thank you. Every day, you all, Clean Water Services and as well as Washington County, I'm very proud to sit here and be part of all of this, and I appreciate your services and your leadership and the name and the recognition and the good services that you deliver to Washington County. And I benefit as well as a resident here, so thank you. Congratulations, and I'm ready for a picture.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Fye.
So I will follow up. There is nothing mundane about this. These awards start at silver, then there's gold, and then there's platinum. And your performance over the course of time is what leads to the levels that you are at. So we have 3 facilities that have once again received the highest honor, platinum, for a record of full compliance. So that's 10,000 compliant samples each, or tests, for 5 consecutive years. So get this, the Rock Creek facility has earned platinum status for 20 years in a row.
Wow.
The Durham facility has received the platinum award for 8 years in a row. Wow. And the Hillsborough facility has now moved up to the platinum level with those 5 consecutive years.
Ooh, way to go.
So that is tremendous. And not to be left out, Forest Grove had an abnormal event, and with some total suspended solids at our natural treatment system, which is one of those leading edge systems that where Clean Water Services is leading the way for the world, not just here in the United States, for taking care of that fixed amount of water. So this year has received a silver award. So much to be proud of. And we continue as the Board of Directors to support your work so that the track record of caring for this precious water on our shared planet can be treated as such moving forward. So we want to celebrate you, and that's the point of today. So let's get on with some pictures then. Thank you.
So
23 billion gallons of water is pretty darn impressive, too.
EPA reported in 2020 that there are 335,000 facilities
Wow.
in the U.S., and they're within the top 100 easy. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Elizabeth, your help. If you could introduce our 4 Clean Water Services employees here that are representing the 4 different facilities with the awards today.
Here we go. Thank you, Chair. Let's see, going from my right to left, we have Tom Stowe with Rock Creek. We have Dustin Hagman. Did I get it right? Okay. With Durham. We have Noah Harvey. All right, 3 months in.
That's Elizabeth Edwards.
Elizabeth
3
Edwards.
months in.
And CJ Baxter with the Forest Grove representing. So
Good
thank
job.
you, gentlemen.
Yes. You did well. 3 months into the job, I could not have done that well. So thank you very much. I wanted to make sure that all of your colleagues, but your friends and family know not only of your individual work, but all of the team members that you work with each and every day to do this incredible work for us. So thank you very much. And now for the pictures.
Commissioner Willie, could you move to this side with Diane, please? Maybe, just to balance it. Can you move that way? Okay, we have everyone in the picture. 1, 2, 3. Or water, yeah. And then
All righty, so we'll move on next to public hearings. Today we have 2 different public hearings. The first one deals with an annexation into the Clean Water Services District. So we'll turn it over to you, our land use experts.
Good morning, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. I am Tricia Garisco, Associate Planner with Land Use and Transportation, and I will be giving a brief presentation on proposed boundary change 24-005. The tax lot depicted here is located generally at 8610 Southwest Miller Hill Road, just south of Southwest Gassner Road in unincorporated Washington County. The property consists of one single-family residence with a land use designation of future development, FD20. This proposal is a request by property owner Lauren Phillips to annex one tax lot totaling approximately 0.46 acres into the Clean Water Services District. This request was initiated by a consent petition from the property owners. County staff has reviewed the request and found that it meets the criteria for boundary changes as outlined in the staff report. Next slide, please. Staff recommends that the board conduct the public hearing and at the conclusion of the hearing, adopt the resolution and order approving the annexation with the approval becoming effective immediately. If there is any public testimony today, there is a brief statement I will need to read into the record.
Thank you for the presentation. And I would like to note that this property is within the urban growth boundary that Metro manages. So at this juncture, I'd like to open a public hearing. Clerk Moss, do we have anyone who wishes to testify on this matter?
Thank you, Chair Harrington. We had no one sign up in the room. In any member of the auditorium wish to provide public comment on this public hearing, as you've heard the report from staff. Not seeing raise their hand or coming forward. Any member online via Zoom, would you provide public comment to this public hearing as you've heard the staff report. Give you just a moment to utilize raise hand function. Not seeing any hands. Chair Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. And with that, I'll close today's public hearing and ask for a motion to approve the resolution and order regarding the annexation of the single tax lot totaling approximately 0.46 acres into the Clean Water Services District, and authorize the chair to sign said R&O.
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 6-0. Next, we'll move on to another public hearing, but on an entirely different matter. And that is with regard to the consolidated plan. That is something that is managed through our community development organization, which allows us to take advantage of community development block grant and home funds available through the federal government. So welcome. Please do us the honors.
Great, thank you. Good morning, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. Thanks so much for the opportunity to be with you. My name is Shannon Wilson, and I'm Program Manager for the County's Office of Community Development. And I am joined by my colleague.
Hello, my name is Eva Polly, and I'm a Housing and Community Development Specialist in the Office of Community Development.
And so I'll be walking us through the presentation, and then depending on any questions or comments from your board or from the public, then Eva is here to assist with any of those questions. So as you said, Chair, we are here for a public hearing for two components of our 2025 to 2029 consolidated plan. And those two components are the community participation plan and the language access policy. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. So the consolidated plan, just a brief overview of that, is a 5-year strategic plan that prioritizes investments of federal funds that our office administers. And so we anticipate over that next 5-year period, 2025 to 2029, receiving an estimated $35 million in federal funds. This consolidated plan process builds on an intensive community engagement process that looks at housing and community development needs. And it is a requirement of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to be able to receive these funds and administer them in the county. We do this work in collaboration with our partners at the cities of Beaverton and the cities of Hillsborough. Both of those cities are large enough by population size to receive their own entitlement of one of the federal funding sources, the Community Development Block Grant funds. And then the other two federal funding sources that are directed by the Consolidated Plan include the Emergency Solutions Grant and the Home Investment Partnerships Program. And so both of those our office administers for the full geography of the county. So just very briefly, the Community Development Block Grant Program can support infrastructure, facilities, projects, single-family housing rehab projects, and key public services. The Home Investment Partnerships Program supports the production of regulated affordable housing within the county. And the Emergency Solutions Grant Program provides federal funds that assist individuals and families regain and help them regain permanent housing after experiencing a housing crisis or homelessness. And so again, these are the three funding types that are directed by the Consolidated Plan. And so the two components, again, that we are here for this public hearing are specific components of the Consolidated Plan, but include the Community Participation Plan and the Language Access Policy. So the Community Participation Plan, it identifies policies and procedures that provide for and encourage participation from community members within the county, the full county, including Beaverton and Hillsborough, in the development of both our Consolidated Plan, our Equity Plan, and then associated annual plans and reports that are part of this overall process. So some key highlights of the plan. You do have the full draft plan and draft policy in your packet, but just to highlight a couple of key components from both. So the Community Participation Plan really encourages resident engagement, and specifically community engagement efforts are focused on being culturally responsive and encouraging participation from historically marginalized populations. And so we have identified those marginalized populations to be low and moderate income persons, residents of predominantly low and moderate income areas, non-English speaking people or people with limited English proficiency, communities of color, persons with disabilities, residents of public and assisted housing developments, recipients of tenant-based rental assistance, and any others who experience barriers to affordable housing. As a component of the plan, we identify public comment periods for each of the different plans and then reports that we produce as a part of this process. So for our consolidated plan, we have a 30-day public comment period. The annual action plan, so every 5 years of that 5-year plan, we put together a more detailed action plan that identifies specific organizations and projects to be funded, and so there'd be a 30-day public comment for each of those annual action plans. And then a 15-day public comment period for our report that reports back on the success of our annual action plan. And so that annual report is the great acronym CAPER, the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. So another component of the community participation plan is identifies the number of public hearings and meetings we will have as a part of this engagement. So our consortium, which is the county in Beaverton and Hillsborough, will conduct at least 2 public hearings to obtain community members' feedback. So each year, so hearings will occur at different stages of the consolidated planning process and with our action plan each year. And we'll address those housing and community development needs, the proposed use of program funds, and then to highlight our program performance over each year as we move forward. And so public comments on plans, so what we do with any input that we do receive. So comments can be submitted in writing via email or mail in any language during the comment period. Comments can also be submitted orally by phone or in public hearings and meetings. And so all comments and feedback are considered, and then a summary of all the comments received are included in each of the final plans and documents and reports each year as an appendices to those plans. So then moving to the language access policy, so the other component of the public hearing today. So the goal of the language access policy, so this is a policy that's specific to the consolidated plan, but that is tied to establishing procedures for access, translation, interpretive services, but it is very connected and in line with Washington County's Title VI Civil Rights Act of 1964 compliance plan and the county's language assistance policy. So this chart has a lot of information on it. It is to give you a sense of how we develop, or how the county really develops, and we align with the work the county already does to identify safe harbor languages within the county and the translation service, the level of translation service provided by population. So this chart has the number of individuals that where their first language is another language other than English, and they have identified through 2022 American Community Survey data that they do not speak English very well. And so you'll see that across the county as a whole, and then even looking specifically at Beaverton and Hillsborough, people who speak Spanish as their first language, that is the highest number and percentage of the overall county population. And you'll see the other languages reflected there. There is in the footnote the other languages that are kind of consolidated into one line based on the number of individuals. And so that data then informs, that data really combined with these safe harbor guidelines then informs the level of translation provided. So this just gives you a sense of those guidelines. So if there are 1,000 or more individuals in the eligible population, or more than 5% of an eligible population, then we will translate all vital documents. And then from there, it kind of steps down the level of translation provided. But in any event, if it is requested, we will make our best efforts to provide translation for any language. So then identified in our policy, Washington County will translate, so based on that chart of the data from the 2022 American Community Survey, the county will translate vital documents into Spanish, Vietnamese, Chinese, Korean, Arabic, and then will translate as needed or as requested, Russian, Polish, Slavic, Japanese, Filipino, Tagalog, Khmer, Cambodian, Persian, Farsi, and Somali. Beaverton will translate vital documents into Spanish, and Hillsborough will translate vital documents into Spanish and Vietnamese. And then for all other language groups, we will provide translated written notices of that right to receive oral interpretation of any documents. So then looking ahead for next steps in our overall process. So today we are here conducting this public hearing for these two components of the consolidated plan. From there, in September and October, we will be meeting with a variety of community groups to get feedback on our draft goals and objectives for the consolidated plan. We are also currently in the larger comment period for these two specific, the community participation plan and language access policy. So those are occurring at the same time. And that from there, we'll move into drafting the full consolidated plan. Then we will have a final public comment period and public hearing in the spring of 2025. That will come to our policy advisory board and then to your board for approval in late April, and then go to HUD in early May of 2025 for final approval and submission. So with that, we'd thank you for your time. We're happy to take any questions and any comments from the public. Thank you.
So, directors, commissioners, that is the overview of the Community Participation Plan and Language Access Policy. And before we move to a public hearing as required, do you have any questions? Seeing none, I'd like to open a public hearing. Clerk Moss, do we have anyone who wishes to address us on this matter?
Thank you, Chair Harrington. I did not see anyone sign up in the auditorium. Would any member in the auditorium wish to provide public comment for up to 2 minutes on this public hearing? As you've heard the staff report, not see anyone in the room or coming forward. Would any member online wish to provide public comment for up to 2 minutes? Give you just a moment to utilize raise hand function. Not seeing any hands, Chair Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. And with that, I will close today's public hearing. And we are done for today, and our team will continue to move forward with all the next steps. And thank you very much for being the subject matter experts that you are, so that we can have confidence in how the system will work and in our future decision making. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to our second public comment period of today's meeting.
We just did that, Chair Harrington, so you're to board announcements. Oh, no, sorry. I skipped ahead there. Would any member of in the auditorium wish to provide public comment on any related county item for up to 5 minutes? Not seeing anyone in the room coming forward. Would any member online wish to provide public comment for up to 5 minutes on any county-related topic? Give you just a moment to utilize raise hand function. Not seeing any hand, Chair Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. See, it's a one Washington County team effort to make sure we get everything done and done well. Next, we have board announcements. So I would like to announce our future meetings. They are, now that it's the month of September, Tuesday, September 10th, we'll have just work session day that day starting at 9 a.m. On that Thursday, September 12th, next Thursday, we'll be having our board roundtable starting at 9 a.m. Then the following week on Tuesday, September 17th, we'll start. It'll be an afternoon work session starting at 1, full work session, and then a board meeting that evening. Please note that is the third week of the month of September, and due to other conference activities, we'll be holding our afternoon work session and evening board meetings on that day, Tuesday, September 17th, because the following Tuesday, September 24th, we will not be having board meetings that day. That's it for me. Are there any other board announcements for today? All right, so we would like to reconvene our work session meeting at 11:30. So that means we're going to be adjourning rather quickly from here over to our work session. And for that, I need to ask for two different motions. First, a motion to adjourn today's our Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. And as the Board of Commissioners in work session, I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub H for the purposes of discussing potential litigation.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 5-0. And then after we reconvene out of that work session, we will be breaking for our lunch break, and then we'll reconvene in work session at approximately 1 in the afternoon in the work session room, because we have a few agenda items left for the day. So that's it for the Board of Commissioners meeting, the business meeting for today. Thank you.